already know who it is. It's Ryan D at ZZPer here with the Snobalt in the background to help me out. We're gonna take you guys down our brand new build series called the Path to Horsepower. This one today for you LNF guys is gonna be the path to 400 horsepower. All right guys, so I'm gonna do a bit of talking here. Don't mean to talk you off too much, but there's a lot of great ways, a few different ways to skin a cat per se when it comes to making 400 horsepower on the LNF. The LNF is a fantastic car for making power very easily. The LNF overall is a vehicle that makes it have a great power band, variable valve timing. It's really easy to make a lot of good power with them. So just so everyone is up to date, we know the LNF to the crank from the factory comes with 260 horsepower, 260 foot-pounds of torque. Roughly on our Mustang dyno, we usually see between 230 horsepower, 230 crank, and 240 horsepower, 240 crank. So to get pretty close to getting to over 160 to 150 more horsepower isn't as hard as you may think with it. So we're gonna go through a few different routes in order to really get you where you need to go. Starting off, number one, I think the good basis for no matter what you're gonna do in LNF are the GM Stage 1 3-bar map sensors. This is the best foundation to get the car to make more boost, make more power, have the updated GM Stage 1 operating system on it to pretty much go as sky's the limit. And this will be a foundation for whether you wanna make 400, 500, whatever kind of horsepower you wanna make. These GM Stage 1 3-bar map sensors and the appropriate LNF PCM tuning to go with it is optimal. So beyond that, as our next foundation is really the intercooler. As we talked about in our top 5 video, the factory intercooler on the LNF is plastic, as are the charge pipes. You really won't be able to reliably push those in most cases, pushing your 400 horsepower with upwards of 20 pounds of boost reliably. The intercooler is really an underrated mod. Like, it's one of those mods that you are not going to get 15 horsepower from adding an intercooler. Granted, if your stock one's broken, you'll get all your power back. But you don't get power from it. Stops you from heat soaking. It makes the car make all the power it wants to continue to make. You can do multiple runs over and over and not have the car start cutting timing or heat soaking to do as such. So it's a really, really good idea, and its reliability. Overall, it's a mod you can't beat. It's a great setup for people that can just want to replace everything from the turbo all the way to the throttle body. It fits well. It comes with the silicone, the T-clamps, all those things that really just bolt it on and make the car good to go. So beyond that, next you're going to look at the more fun stuff too. We have our ZZP 3.25 fender well intake. That's going to be something that will also really stick with the whole build of the car, no matter what you're doing for the later upgrades to get to your 400 horsepower, fuel depending, of course. On top of that, it's really a good idea to, along with all these objects, get your exhaust situated. Now, there's a few different ways we can go here depending on the type of fueling that you have or you will want to go with. For your bolt-on parts you're going to need regardless are our ZZP LNF turbo downpipe. That's going to be the best one to get for this setup. Comes with a high flow 4-inch steel cat, keep things flowing, no restriction whatsoever, and it's going to be something that just bolt right up to your stock turbo and the later upgraded turbos we're going to talk about later in the video today. This is going to keep, get rid of KR, help turbo spool faster, and of course give us a real cool sound out of the exhaust pipe. Now, one that is a little more on the optional side, but in my opinion, very much well worth it, is going to be our ZZP LNF 3-inch catback. Now, your factory catback isn't too bad, but the muffler's a tad restrictive on it. So at least changing out the muffler is a good idea with one of ours, or you just replace everything from the resonator all the way to the end of the car with our bolt-on catback section, a little bit lighter than factory, as well as sounds a lot better, and it's gonna make sure you're gonna have no restrictions for your exhaust flow with getting all the car made up to whatever horsepower you're doing. Now, there's where it kind of gets to be, there's more than one way to skin a cat essentially. So, the easiest way to do this is going to be going on E85. I personally run E85 in all my cars because I like the cooling properties, the resistance to knock, and here in Michigan at ZZPerformance, around ZZPerformance, is very accessible. But if you don't have it, 91 and 93 can be a viable option, as far as getting there too. And then in the video I'll talk about how to properly get the same horsepower numbers for 400 on the LNF to run E85 properly, you're going to want to get our Opal direct injection injector upgrade for the car. It's a bolt-in part, but does require tuning as well. This has an E85 safe seals, as well as has pretty much the size injector you need to make as much horsepower as you want. The injectors do not become an actual limit when you have the Opals. And what's cool is, even on gas, they actually kind of do make a little more power, which is kind of goes against what most cars do, but the LNF love these things. It's you know, they're a great mod. It's a great upgrade to get rid of that factory, those factory smaller ones anyway. It's just something you kind of want to do kind of baseline with it. We've seen on our dyno many times the car has picked up a little more power or gained back lost power, especially because the factory injectors, you know, they're pretty decent. You can take them pretty far on different fuel mixtures, but obviously to have the E85 safe seal and the larger, you know, injectors, it's kind of worth it for a great upgrade for the car. Staying along the same vein of running full 85, you want to look at the ZZP Z2 billet cams for your LNF. It's a good idea to also grab the 82-pound valve springs and titanium retainers with these as well to make sure that everything stays happy. You're not going to just valve float the car all over the place. Obviously, valve float is lost horsepower, and we're trying to get to a certain horsepower to make 400 wheel horsepower in the LNF, so that's something that's going to be very important. So the cams will help you help get the fuel into the car because it has the upgraded fuel cam lobe on it. That's going to stroke the high pressure fuel pump to get the commanded fuel pressure needed for E85 fuel, and obviously you're going to get this extra power from the cams, which usually in like depending on the car setup and the turbo you're running with, usually upwards of 20 horsepower or so for your build, which is going to be needed because every little bit counts. Something also to remember is that cars are not addition problems, guys. So we kind of get a lot of people like, oh, well, I have the Canon intake and it says it gives me 25, and I have this downpipe, it says it gives me 20. I have 45 more horsepower. It doesn't work like that. It's about the sum of the parts, not just one part, two parts, or three parts. It's how all the parts work together to flow better, to talk to each other, essentially for the whole engine to work as one cohesive unit. That's what makes horsepower. So treat it like a whole problem, not just an addition problem. You understand what I'm saying? So kind of going along the same vein of the cams too, there's a cheaper, more budget-friendly option called our LHU LNF intake fuel cam lobe upgrade. It's a little bit cheaper on the side, stock cam profile on it with the upgraded high pressure fuel pump lobe to stroke the high pressure fuel pump to get that same E85 flow that you're going to need to make all the power that you're looking for. That's a simple bolt-in one. Don't need upgraded valve springs with it, but not as great as getting actual cams for the car that will help you in the long run with it. So another option for getting good horsepower of the car is E47. E47 is a great fuel. It is it's a 50% mixture of E85 and either 91 or 93 octane. Both are very good, and you don't need the fuel system requirements of E85 to use them. The main drawback to that is you have to mix the fuel every single time, and if it's off too much, then the car will not run properly. So E47 won't require the fuel system, but require the extra labor on your end and extra carefulness to make sure you're always sitting at E47 with your fuel mixture. So on the Cobalt, it's very easy. You have a 12-gallon tank, so 6 gallon of one, 6 gallon of the other. But obviously, if you get anything more than that, or you have to kind of change that up a little bit, you got to do the math using various E47 or E85 calculators to get your ethanol percentage. And obviously, E85 is a little unpredictable as far as how much of an ethanol percentage it's going to give. So you may have to do a little bit of math or go to a really consistent ethanol station near you to make sure that that's all good. Next, going on the same vein, E85, you're pretty much ready to kind of make all the power you want to make. I would suggest going with our Z Series Z57 turbo or our ZFR 7163 ZFR. Both of those turbos are going to very easily get you into the range of where you're looking to be as far as horsepower numbers. The Z Series is a more budget-friendly option for those who can't quite swing the $2,000 for a ZFR or the more expensive T3 setups on the car. The Z Series line also comes with a ZZPerformance 2-year warranty in case anything happens. Versus unfortunately the ZFRs, they don't quite come with that, but they are also both very good, very reliable turbos. They both, you want to be in the 20 to 25 pound range with both of those turbos. They do a good job turbos just because you have, you know, again, it's your stock manifold, stock twin scroll, and you can actually do quite a bit with it. Both of those are bolt-on turbos that will allow you to use all the current parts you have, our intake, our downpipe, all your charge pipes, to just bolt directly onto your stock manifold. These turbos, especially on E85, are capable of 400 plus wheel horsepower. Really leaning on ones like the ZFR, you can make actually a little bit more. Then depending on your fuel upgrades for more horsepower, which we'll talk about in another video, you can really get some good power and get some good spool out of both of those without having a terrible power band. So you get a lot of spool, don't lose drivability, and the car will just make 400 reliably. So those are going to be two good turbos to pair with this. You know, you're going to run them in the 20 to 25 pound range. On the ZFR, you can run a little bit more, around 26 pound range. And then they're going to spool fantastically. They're going to, you know, get on, if you're looking for more budget-friendly option, they'll go with the Z series, which will make very similar power, slightly slower spool, maybe about a few hundred RPM, but they're both going to be fantastic for getting toward the goal, and very much so necessary to get to that actual specific goal. So that's on like the E85 tip. You'll probably end up making a little bit more than your 400, you know, with that E85 and everything, which is always good. So you can not have to, you know, push your car as hard. Now for you 91 and 93 guys, the setup is mostly the same. But instead of having the option of going to the fuel load cam to stroke the high pressure fuel pump, Z2 cams will be necessary to really get that happening. A full bolt-on LNF stage 1 sensors, Opals, Z2 cams on 91 octane on our dyno has made exactly 400 wheel horsepower numerous times. So that's with 93, get a little bit more, and with good tuning, obviously with through ZZPerformance, obviously remote tuning is going to help you get exactly where you need to go with this. So something else that I left off kind of earlier on, but that will be 100% necessary, is a clutch. You're going to need a clutch to do anything like 400 horsepower with an LNF. So your stock clutch will 100% slip if you do things like I just tried to do or just did, and you know, really try to push the car to have fun with it. Guys, that factory clutch is not going to last with how much torque and how great the power band is on an LNF. What's great about our engines, they are variable valve timing, so you can really bring that turbo in really hard, so it's not very peaky. You get a good meaty power band. And that stock clutch isn't gonna really hold up to that. It's gonna start slipping, so it'd be a good idea to either grab a Clutch Masters FX400 or we'll call our Stage 4 FX400 Clutch Masters clutch on our website, or a South Bend Stage 4 Plus. For the LNF, Stage 4 Plus only on the South Bend side, because the Stage 4, you will easily overtake that torque and it will slip as well. Stage 3 and Stage 4 on the South Bend is more for the LSJ guys that don't make as much torque as the LNF does. So you're definitely gonna need a clutch to really, you know, keep this thing all together. Slight different product recommendation too, two of them, is our F35 short throw shifter and our F35 Cobalt ion base shifter base bushings. They really are gonna help you shift the car better. They're gonna get the car to feel like a proper sports car, get all that slop out of the shifter. It's gonna be something that you're gonna really wanna get, and they're fairly inexpensive as well and fairly easy to install. So overall, getting 400 horsepower on an LNF isn't difficult at all to do. Bolt-ons and a bolt-on turbo, you have 400 wheel, super easy. You can get that all roughly, you know, you can get a pretty decent budget with this. I'm gonna say probably in the realm of $5,000 to $6,000, and that should be enough to get you, you know, right to where you're going with the whole setup, you know, as far as parts are going. Now, something else to add on is the LNF. A lot of people ask, oh, what about, you know, can I get a ported head for it? Ported head isn't a bad idea if you know how to port them. ZZPerformance are one of the people that do know how to port them properly, but you really don't need a ported head just yet. The ported head is kind of the cherry on top for like the T3 guys looking to make well above that. The LNF doesn't really have great head flow anyway. It makes all of its power from the efficiency of the combustion. So it's one of those things that you don't really need a ported head to increase the flow just yet. You can remain on the stock head. Just doing cams or valve springs will be a better option for you. So guys, all in all, this should be a fairly easy road to 400 horsepower in the LNF. Very simple. These cars are torque monsters. They're fun. They will surprise a lot of people because they're so light. Get them on the highway, from a roll, from a dig, anything. Get a little practicing with driving, and not much on the road out there is going to be able to catch up to you or beat you. Granted, cars are fast now, but that doesn't mean these cars aren't fast too. In fact, another thing I want to mention to you guys, grab HP tuners. Any mod car guy should really want it. It's a great diagnostic tool. You'll be able to really, send your tuner logs and, really dial the car in and get your money's worth on the actual tune itself versus, sending it for a flash. A flash is good, and we know these cars so well in and out that you are, it's one of those things where you can send data logs back and forth. You get to, really dial it in for your fuel and your actual, area and what you're doing and how you drive. Remote tuning is something that we offer and have offered for a long time, and we highly suggest it, especially when trying to make power like you guys are trying to make. 400 wheel horsepower is a good amount in these cars. 400 horsepower in the LNF is a magical number. It's just enough to have fun, not enough to always blow off the tires, and it's a very usable amount of horsepower, because remember, usable horsepower is better than a dyno queen number of just your max peak number. So a usable 400 wheel horsepower in these cars is so magical, and pretty much everyone around here will tell you 400 horsepower in an LNF is the perfect number. Maybe you can go up to 400, 450, somewhere up in there, but low 400s, absolutely perfect in the LNF. You can shit fast with it, you can beat the snot out of it, remain reliable, be very, very quick, and beat pretty much anything that it can go up against, and have a really good time and enjoy your vehicle. Little side note too, always make sure to have good summer tires. If you're wondering why you're not hooking, maybe you have crappy all seasons on them or some really, cheap summer tires. Get a good set of tires on the car, guys. You'll thank your car and you'll thank yourself later. All right, guys, I think that's all I have today. Please let me know in the comments if you guys have any other suggestions or what you like to do, or if you'd like to see more of these videos. We plan to bring these out for most of our platforms. I think it'd be a really cool idea, really cool thing to see if you guys want certain horsepower numbers, or we can even do a 500 horsepower setup for these cars from going directly there, or going around the roundabout way, doing it if you already have a build, etc. And we really get this whole series burning off for you guys to let you guys see the horsepower numbers you want to see for the platforms you want to see them in. My name is Ryan D at ZZP. We're here with the Snobalt. We'll check you next time.